all of my tabs. There we go. There it is. Alright. Alright. We're good to go. Hey, how's it going, Nice ya? Good to see ya. Glad to see you here right as we're getting started here today. Nice Friday writing. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. It's kind of a low motivation day for me, but I usually find that that's like the most important day to make myself do stuff. So I'm glad I'm getting myself active and doing some stuff here today. So it'll be good. Hopefully it's a bit more. No, I don't want that. Go away. Stupid Mike. This is okay. This is gonna set me off right here. We're like already 2 minutes in. Only 2 minutes in, it's already gonna set me off. Bep and Matt. At some point, they can encounter the chase as it is beginning on the street. Honestly, I think I can just sort of cut and paste a lot of this, because we've already kind of outlined a lot of this stuff, and there's really no point in reinventing the wheel, as I always say. So I'm going to copy that, and we're going to go back to our page here, just paste that, boom. That's really all we need to do for that, just to make sure it's all in one place there. Let's see here. As far as what enemies are doing, let's see here. Only true enemy is Gregor, who is running for this one. Let's see here. So we got the goal is to stop Gregor's escape and probably interrogate him for information regarding why he wanted to kill the queen. You know, I mean, people have their reasons, but you can't just go around killing the queen. You just can't do that. It's not cool. It's not an acceptable thing in most cultures. So it has to be stopped. It's just how it goes. Let's see. Okay, what's your third spell here? Nice, yeah. Access by clerics and paladins called Thunderous Charge. Thunderous Charge of 1,000 Knights. Nice. Sir, those are some intense names you got going on there. Alrighty. Potential outcomes and stuff like that. We'll worry about that later once we've made more progress on it. So really what I'm going to have us do is I want to start working on this next thing. So the next stage of this whole mission, so what did we say for that? Players can extract information from the compromised traveler, and that'll be Gregor. I'm going to go ahead and edit that just to make sure I'm adding some cohesion to everything. That was let's see here, and learn that he was meant to meet with the Eladrin at an old mill by the river south of town. Players can go there to confront the Eladrin, which will be their first interaction with him. Inevitably, he'll lead them through a little house of horrors before ultimately skipping out and leaving them wondering exactly who he is. Okay, so what I want to do for that, yeah. So there's a couple things I need to do here. I need to open up, where is it? It's going to be Wonder Draft. Open up Wonder Draft here. And open up our region map, because I'm going to need to do a little bit of name editing here, I think. I think that's what I'll need to do. So we've got Bepimat. Oops. Hold on, what's happening here? Oh, I was on the wrong window on accident. There we go, that's what I needed. Okay, so there's Bepimat. And this is the old mill that they were going to go to. I don't want to call it the river mill though. I want to change something like that. I want to change that. What do I want to name it though? Let's It's always the tough part, isn't it? Coming up with a name that you like and are going to be satisfied with. Although I feel like I'm thinking about just sort of the cohesion of how this world is built here and everything. So we've got Madeline's Oasis here, and everything is kind of, so Madeline is a pretty historic figure within this region, and a whole lot of pretty much everything that's done is kind of done in her honor. And so I'm thinking that this river would be called something along the lines of the Madeline River, and it branches here, so I feel like this would be called like the North Branch, and that would be the South Branch or something like that. So I'm wondering if they would call this like North River Mill or North Branch Mill or something like that. And like that would be a historic name. Because what I want to try and invoke here with this map, because I'm trying to make a player's map, and I'd like to invoke with the names, I'd like to invoke a sense of this being an old map that was once a genuine traveler's map used by people in this world, and then thousands of years later it's been found. So a lot of these names will be kind of meaningless to the players, right? It's a good way to sort of blend player meta knowledge with character knowledge, right? Because we'll have like all these names that the players won't understand, but neither will their characters, because they're historic places, you know. And so that's kind of what I want the naming convention to be in here, is like names that they would have given, at least for established places. A lot of these other things here, like, you know, these pirate caves and stuff like that, those will likely be unnamed for the player map, and I will just call them like Pirate Cave 1 or Pirate Cave 2 or something like that for the sake of my understanding. But for players, they'll just kind of be blank things, because they wouldn't really be on the map, and it'd be up to them to try and figure out where on the map these things are located based on context clues. It's a long way of describing the fact that I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to, is it going to be, okay, there we go. I want to call this, yeah, I think that's what they would call it, the North River Mill. We'll just do that. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that's fine. I think that's fine right there. It's not particularly awe-inspiring, but everything has to be. So we're gonna call that the North River Mill. All right, and so yeah, okay. So I want to go ahead and gonna copy this. So we're making a dungeon. We're just gonna go ahead and copy our template there, right there, and we're just gonna do it right there. Dungeon, boom. The North River Mill. Hey Kickstand, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm doing all right. Doing okay. Kind of a low energy, low motivation day for myself, but I always, like I was saying before, I always kind of find that those are the most important days for me to actually sort of get myself doing stuff, so that way I don't end up wasting the whole day away, because that's usually the #1 way to make me feel worse about it. So we're sitting here and we're gonna go ahead and get some work done on our campaign that we're working in. Alrighty. I'm glad you're having a good day, Kickstand. Glad to hear it. It's always good when others are having a good day. Makes me feel good. Let's see here. So nice, working on pixel art. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so if we're gonna do the North River Mill here, I just think, where do I want to start with working on this? I suppose kind of establishing the history and then making the map is gonna be the best way to go. Let's see here. Alrighty. Let's see here. Yeah, it sounds like you're really making some progress on your projects there, Kickstand. Glad to hear it. And like I say, I'm glad to hear you're having a good day. That's a good thing. Good thing all around, for sure. Uh-oh, we got more spam. I don't want to buy followers. I do not want to buy followers. We are going to ban this obviously fake thing. I'm disinterested in that. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm with you there, Kickstand. I'm not a big fan of the bots that plague everything. It's like I say, I was just about to go down the rabbit hole of ranting earlier. It's frustrating to me that everything in this world is an ad. Every single thing is just a commercial, and it gets old. It gets real old. Alright, so let's see. Intended player level is level 2. Number of room sets, this is a level 2 dungeon, so it's going to just have one room set. Let's see here. Nearest city is going to be Bepimat. Current overlord of this one, I'm going to say the Summer Eladrin, even though they're not really going to do much interacting with him. It's going to do... I'm thinking this one's going to be a good mission to do the classic. They meet the bad guy, but the bad guy's all like, ugh, you're beneath me, and then leaves them to have to deal with some sort of, like, monster or something like that. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this mission that I'm doing here as I'm writing it. So history. Let's see here. So before the unhinging, actually, you know what I want to do before I do that? I'm just gonna take a peek here. I want to find a monster that is going to be our final monster, because I think that informs a bit of the history, right? It's all kind of it's an amalgamation of everything. So for a level 2 boss, we need a challenge rating level 2 is what I'm looking for here. So let's go ahead. Challenge range 2 to 2. We just want 2s. Environment. Let's add coastal. Gonna add desert. Grassland maybe? I guess we can add grassland. It's kind of a loose fit for this region, but we'll add those and see what kind of monsters it spits out at us and see. Got the Kruthic there. I almost get bored of using the Kruthic though. It's such a, like, the appearance of it is so charismatic for like a mindless boss. I feel like I end up using it more than I should, so I kind of want to stray away from that one if I can. Centaur. That's interesting. That might be something. An enormous tentacle. There just exists an enormous tentacle. I mean, actually, for a mill, that's not the worst idea. I mean, I could do something with that. What else do we got? Giant elk, giant constrictor snake, just a generic druid, blue guard drake. Not super enthused by any of those quite yet. Griffin, guard drake, ice spider queen. I don't think that's gonna actually be all that. Like, it's interesting to me that they would have ice spider queen and then desert environment for that. That seems a little odd. not sure I buy that comparison there, but you know. Let's see here. Marrow. Marrows aren't bad, but I actually like them for like actual underwater stuff. I mean, you could have one in the river by the mill. Ogre Howda. Just like the concept of that little guy there. An Orug. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Could be something that could be like corrupted by the Eladrin or something like that. Hired to work for him. Plesiosaur. Sea hag. We've got other uses for sea hags later on in this region, so I don't think I'm going to go down that one. I like the idea of doing an Orug, honestly. They say stronger and smarter. Attached killers, servants of darkness. I think this could work. Okay, we're it's an Orcan. I mean, the original lore, it says here, Orugs are orcs blessed with surprisingly keen intellect, and ordinary orcs believe is a gift from the orc goddess Luthek. As opposed to that traditional thing, it could just be that it's an orc that was captured by the Eladrin, and then the Eladrin utilized whatever magics and stuff it has to, you know, gift extra powers to the guy here. I think that would work. And so he's just kind of there to guard it as a base or something like that. Or he goes there. Even better yet, it's like the mill is largely just ignored and abandoned. But the Eladrin shows up there and he brings an Orug guard with him. you know, in case he needed to do exactly what he's going to do and sick the creature on the players. You could do the org. You could have like a small contingent. We could do an org, because then we're also going to need to have some cronies that exist. Oops. And so if we do those, we can have just like some small bugbears or something. Oh, a half ogre. Yeah, there's some options. There's a few different options that we could use, but I think that's going to work. So I think we're going to go with the org. Let me just go back a couple, so pull up our org here. Okay, so that's ready to go for when I need to refer to it. So before the unhinging, the mill was just a typical functional part of the small riverside town that existed here. Let's see. Oh, you know what? That's actually going to make it even more interesting. This is a really good way to add some more, like I was talking about before with my map. I think this is a good way. This might be a good way to add some authenticity to it. We'll just name the region after the city, and the guy will, when they capture him and interrogate him, he'll say he was meant to go to the mill at the one city. So I think I like that idea. And I'm gonna do my typical cheat method of finding good names for all of my stuff. And we're going to go city, town names, and I want ancient Egyptian towns, because that's kind of what we're doing here. So, I don't know, I don't like any of those. Ooh, I like that one, Bebupata, just because that's close to the main city of Bepamat. So you can almost see that as being like a regional name that they offered to it or something like that. Like there's some sort of regionality or connection that way to it. It's not a bad idea. Alright, yeah, we're gonna go with that. Bebupata. Okay, so we're gonna go here. So we're gonna call this dungeon Bebupata there, and then we need to change that in a few of these. I hate when it does that. Okay, there we go. And we're just going to, yeah, I know that's where it's from. I don't need that. These are just for my personal notes. I'm not publishing this. I don't need the citation. Just put that there. I'm going to do more with that in a little bit. And then we're going to, oh, I don't, God damn it. Son of a bee sting. Damn it. It just did not do that at all what I wanted it to do. Hold on. Actually, you know, there's a, is there, keep text only. That's what we wanted to do. That's what I'm looking for right there. Boom. There it is. Hey, giant space crab. How's it going? How's it going? You know, the world building is going okay. We are working on the next mission. We've built our map. At this point, we've kind of filled our map. We've got a roughly filled map here with some generalized stuff, and we are now starting to do a lot of detail work, which is going to take a good long time, and I am a-okay with that. I love the process. So, and actually, now that I've got this pulled up, we're going to rename this. It is no longer going to be named the North River Mill. Instead, we're going to, will it just let me? Yeah, there we go. Bebupata is the name of this little town, and there will be a mill by the river in this little town. It's a tiny little town. It's just a little baby town. Or at least it was. Now it's just a little baby rubble. That sounds like a Flintstones character. Anywho. Anywho. So there's our city, and there will be a mill there. Old mill. By the river, at the river town. Let's see, actually we're going to call it by the remains of the town of Bebupata. is south of Bepimat. Boom, there we go. Okay. So add that little bit of detail there. And then we're going to go back to our actual mission here. So here we go. Let's see here. So I want to change how I'm writing this history then because of that added little bit of detail here. So before the unhinging, the city of Bebupata was a small... I'm going to change this. I don't even want it to say city. I want it to just say town. Town of Bebupata was a small village comprised almost entirely of farmers who grew basic crops to sell to Bepimat. Well, not really sell. We're going to say sell at Bepimat. Or sell, in Bepimat markets to earn a living. Boom, there we go. One of the very few landmarks, of this town was the mill by the river. Though really just a functional part of the city, very little else in Bebupata was fancy enough to garner any notice. Like the setup, oh yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. I found this template. You can go online and you can find OneNote templates that a lot of people have made. So this, I can't even claim that this is mine, although I got it so long ago that I don't remember where I originally found this particular template. But you can go online, you can just Google search it, and you can find templates, and people have created some really cool templates. There's a lot of really cool ones. I settled on this one just because I like the classic, I mean, 5e classic look of things. But yeah, it does make it really thematic, and it makes it more fun to use and to write this stuff. And even though these are just my notes that hardly anyone will ever see, it's fun to have my own personal notes and to have them organized. It just, there's something about the atmosphere that they provide when I'm reading through them while DMing a game. There's just something nice about having that. So I really enjoy it as well. But yeah, it's a nice little touch. It's a nice little touch. Let's see here. So that's what it was like before the unhinging. After the unhinging, the town was abandoned almost immediately, with no military and hardly any resources that could be used to defend or protect the city. The people fled north to Bepimat, assuming they escaped the city, or escaped the town at all, as the monstrosities of the wilds came into the city for whatever unfathomable reasons they had. Now, let's see, I don't need a comment there. Now it is just a ghost town with hardly any buildings still standing. How do I want to say this? So with hardly any buildings still standing. A far cry from the beautiful... I don't want to say beautiful. It was a small town. A far cry from the cozy. We'll say cozy. Cozy community it once was. Only the mill and a few other more robust buildings still stand today. Boom. That's all we really need. That's all we really need for this one. The other thing that I'm wondering is if this... So the dungeon, the true dungeon for this one is going to be... Let's see, we're going to call it Bepupada Mill, is what we'll name the dungeon there. Because the mill is really the dungeon. That's where the rooms and what the players are going to have to sort of like navigate and explore and everything. But the way I'm sort of describing and going to use this setting, because the players are going to encounter, like enter the encounter in the city, and they're going to first encounter, you know, the main villains that they're going to be interacting with in the town itself. So I kind of want to do two maps. I kind of want to do a town map, you know, so that players can have that to look at if they're interested, and then add the dungeon map on top of that. It's kind of what I want to do. I think doing that would really help sell the environment that I'm trying to pass along here. So we'll think about that. So yeah, we've got, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep percolating on that one. I may or may not end up committing to that. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, so for our thematic elements, enemy type and theme. So this one, so in the first dungeon for this mission here, we didn't really worry too much about that because they were just in the middle of the city. So the only enemy really was the guy they were chasing, and every other enemy was just going to be, or is just going to be, angry citizens. The players are getting a little too rough and rowdy with their chase and like knocking old people over, busting down people's doors trying to find the fugitive and stuff like that. So we didn't have much need for a lot of these things, but this one's going to be a little different. So enemy type and theme. So for this one, enemies are largely going to be rough and tumble humanoid types. The type that an evil genius. Wow, genius. Why can't I spell genius today? It's embarrassing. Type that an evil genius would want to brainwash and have work for him. Yeah, him as bodyguards. Like that's exactly what it's. That's exactly what we're gonna work on here. So it's gonna be things like bugbears, orcs, you know, maybe some goblins, but nah, not really. This guy would be capturing and brainwashing just the biggest guys, because he's kind of been making a habit of capturing people that are parts of trade convoys. And he gets away with it because it's not uncommon for a guard or two to go missing in a trade convoy while going through the wilds. There are plenty of clever monsters that would, you know, find who's taking up the rear, or, you know, stalk someone who decided to step to the side of the convoy to take a leak or something like that, and will make him go missing. So people generally don't think about it, you know, and it also fits because that's what started it all, was a kidnapped and brainwashed trade traveler was sent to the city to try and kill off all of the leadership and everything. So thematically I think that fits. So that's how we're going to describe that one there. And then the current boss, let's see here, current boss I'm gonna do 2 bosses here. Whoops. No, that is the furthest away from what I wanted to have happen. Okay. Bosses. So there's kind of 2 bosses here. So I'm gonna do combat boss, which is going to be an Orug, who has been brainwashed by the Eladrin and serves as one of his lead bodyguards. Just do that. That's really all we need to do. I'm not. This isn't going to be like a huge biography section. This is just quick notes. And then we're going to do Overlord, which is the Eladrin. Eladrin is in charge, but will elect not to fight the players at this time, because he's gonna do the I'm gonna have him do the classic supervillain thing where he's like, ugh, fighting you is beneath me, and like try and have his cronies go take him out, and it's gonna be like, it's such a trope. It's such a trope to do it that way, but I mean, it's a trope because it works, and it'll be a really good way to, any group of player will pretty reliably get pissed off by that. Players absolutely hate it when you do not give them the respect that their egos demand. Player characters are always some of the most egocentric people, and I don't know if I've ever been part of a group where the people just did not get absolutely put upon when someone tried to act like they weren't, you know, the absolute kings and queens of the land. And so I think that'll be a really good way to really get them invested in this whole Eladrin thing. Treasure and reward types. So for this one, there's not going to be much, because they're just largely in an empty, abandoned city. That said, maybe what I'll do is somewhere within this dungeon or within the city, have it be that, you know, there's some long forgotten stashes of supplies that various travelers and adventurers have stashed away and either forgotten about or just haven't come back to get, but there's nothing stopping the players. I feel like that would be a thematically appropriate way to reward players, because I'm not a big fan of the kill a random orc, get 17 gold, you know, like the video game style where it's like, oh, they randomly have these items that it makes no sense for them to have. These are brainwashed people who are serving as guards for this Eladrin. He doesn't have to give them money. What would they use money for? They have no reason to have money. And they would have weapons, right? And so players can like loot off their weapons if they want, but there's nothing special about them. You know, these are challenge rating 2 guys. These are guys that have like a sword that was sharpened on a jagged stone that he found on the side of the road, right? If swung hard, it will hurt. There is nothing special about it. And when I'm designing games, I'm all about immersion. I try to have immersion be like the first and foremost thing. That doesn't mean that we don't do, you know, game mechanics and elements like that, but like when it comes to, but that's, it's kind of like I make the distinction where it's like, if it's something that the players experience, we can let it be plenty, you know, game mechanic type of thing. But if it's something their characters experience, I try to keep it as grounded in the reality of this game, this world, as possible. So it's like the players aren't interacting with the treasure, it's the characters that are. So the treasure ought to be thematic and immersive. That's sort of what my thought is. So let's see here. Not much treasure to be. Oops. To be. My bad. You only need one E there. Not much treasure to be. Tumbel. Not much treasure to be found on slain enemies. Wow, my spelling is struggling today. Not much treasure to be found on slain enemies, nor any gear beyond. We'll say gear beyond basic weapons and armor. We'll say maybe a few potions from enemies. So like one or two of them might have a health potion or something like that that they drop. That's more thematic and appropriate. I always find it's reasonable that, you know, we're just talking about like a minor healing potion or something like that. It's reasonable to think, particularly the boss, like the combat boss, the Orug there, he might have one or two on his person. That's something that would make more sense. So we might have them drop a few potions there. We'll say most treasure can be found in the town/mill, independent of enemies. And we'll just say flavored as equipment stashes left behind by other travelers. Boom. We'll say other travelers who may or may not be alive to ever return to the treasure. I'm not gonna make it so in depth here that if players steal any of the treasures that like they're gonna be confronted by a guy who's like, hey, did you take that? Because like, how would anyone know in the first place? And two, there's only so many variables I can keep track of. That said, when we get there, it would be kind of an interesting side mission if like there was like a family heirloom or something like that that someone left behind, and it's like maybe over the courses of their travels in the region they can come across a body that has something that identifies it as being, you know, the body of the guy who left behind that particular treasure. And so if the players want to, they can like track down next of kin in the city or something like that. Never opposed to adding little things like that. I always think that's kind of fun. I always think that stuff's kind of fun to do. So let's see, puzzle/trap themes. So again, this one is a little less important because in a sense, all puzzles and traps kind of end up being the same, where it's a puzzle or a trap. But I always like to try and think of them thematically. You know, so it's like, are the traps going to be more of a tinkerer type of nature, right? Are the puzzles going to be like a literal puzzle where you've got sliding pictures that you need to move around, or is it going to be more of a conceptual one, like like the door to Moria in Lord of the Rings, right, where the puzzle is really a riddle? Like, I always try to think about it in those terms. And so it's like for this one, what I'm thinking is puzzles and traps. Let's see here. So we'll say puzzles and traps will have a natural aspect to them, which is to say that the challenges they present are due to collapsing and decaying buildings. I'm going to actually change that from the challenges to the dangers that they present. So that's what the theme is going to be for this one. It's less about, oh, someone's established a tripwire and they got to be careful about it, and it's more about, you know, this mill is old and unlooked after. There's only so much abuse the building can take before things start coming down. So it's like, you know, and so maybe it's like, oh, they see, you know, because there's going to be kind of a chase element here. If they chase the guy into it and he slams a door, maybe the door causes, like, you know, a bit of the ceiling/roof to collapse, so they're kind of cut off from going, you know, that same direction, and now they got to find another way around or something like that. Things like that are going to be more so the nature of this one. So just a little note for that. Again, these are all just like cliff notes, really, just ways to keep me sort of focused and consistent as I'm writing, in case I forget kind of what direction I was taking initially, because that happens to me oftentimes, especially since it's very common that it takes me a couple days to finish a single dungeon. Definitely can take some time there, and so I'd like to try and make sure I'm keeping myself consistent. As far as primary tasks here go, we'll just say primarily Well, let's make this bullets here, actually. Primary tasks. Confronting the Eladrin regarding the attempted assassination of the Queen of Bephomet. I'm just going to add an extra space there because it looks prettier when I do it that way. Alrighty. That's the primary tasks. Let's see here. Players may, we'll say they may choose to kill or capture any of the bad guys in the dungeon. So they will fight to the death as they are brainwashed. If they, let's see, if they are captured alive and brought to Bephomet, they can be deprogrammed by local, we'll say just local healers. So that's kind of the idea. I always like giving players a few choices, even if they're not obvious choices. Like more than anything, that's just a way for me to keep track of, you know, help me keep an idea of what types of villains they're dealing with. Like these are villains that could be rehabilitated, and having that context in mind also helps me know how to roleplay those villains, right? So when players are asking about like, oh, who are these guys? You know, I can say something to the effects of, oh, their eyes look clouded over, as if there isn't, you know, as if their thoughts aren't matching the actions that they're partaking for this attack or something like that. To like, sorry, my wheel was on my cord there. So that way players can kind of be tipped off to the fact that, oh, maybe these guys aren't like willfully violent or something like that. Maybe there's some sort of magical influence going on here. So if I just add myself, you know, if I add little notes like that for myself, it can be a very good way to, to keep me on track and make sure that I remember, because you know it might be months before players get to this, you know, and so if I've got these types of notes there, I can really fall into it, and it makes session prep a lot easier when the actual time comes. So at any rate, villains and allies here. So villains. Okay, we're going to do a couple things here. The Summer Eladrin. Let's see here. He is the head honcho of this whole situation. He doesn't stick around to fight, but he does talk with players a bit. And I gotta think about exactly what his attitude will be and what types of things he'll talk about with players. But I'm gonna do that in like the individual steps part, because there's gonna be a room with him there. A room. I don't know if it'll actually be a room, but you know, a room, a region, an area, a segment of dungeon, that he'll be there and he'll have discussions with the players about. Like I don't want to play him. I don't like ever playing my villains as the let's all stop for 5 minutes while I explain my huge grand plan so you know exactly how to thwart it. He's not going to do that. But he would be willing to stand around, and because he's arrogant enough, he would be willing to stand around and brag to the players about how he's brainwashed his own small army and it's only a matter of time and blah 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 blah. Like, he's not going to explain his whole plan, but he would definitely be egotistical enough to stand around and drop hints about what it is he's trying to do. Well, so we'll say, regarding his abilities to brainwash and how the players may as well give up, and we'll say give up and blah blah blah. There we go. Alright, and so now I'm actually going to add another one here, because I do want to do brainwashed org. Underline that. And you know what I want to actually, what I should really be doing as well is, let's go here. Let's just go to the org page. I'm going to link, let's see here, copy that. I'm going to be linking the stuff to the stat blocks, because even though for playing online with online virtual tabletops, now that I'm using Foundry, they do have widgets that you can install that will automatically include the stat blocks for things. So I don't need it as much for that, but it is still good to have for the sake of if we're playing in person, which now that we're getting closer and closer to really being able to start reducing some restrictions and, you know, having enough people vaccinated that we can safely meet other people face to face, isn't that going to be a weird sensation when it comes around? Whew. But once we're getting there, it's going to be a lot easier to have in-person sessions, and I know at least one of my groups is very much itching to get back to that regularly. We've been doing occasional in-person meetings when we are able to all, you know, or at least we have been, you know, when we've all been able to properly quarantine ourselves before hanging out with each other and have enough lead time afterwards to, you know, to effectively quarantine before returning to other things that we have to do. So it's going to be nice to not have to worry about that stuff and be with people in person. Like, even just thinking about it, like, oh man, it's going to be a beautiful thing. I mean, we're kind of, at least in my location, we've been inching our way towards that. A few things expanding, a few things opening up here and there safely, you know, consistently, and it seems to be working okay for us. You know, you see small spikes and stuff there, but, you know, as vaccines are getting more and more common, it's exciting. It's exciting. But at any rate, that long tangent to say, I need to be prepared for in-person sessions too, and so when we're doing that, I won't have the virtual tabletop combat encounter with the pull-up stat blocks. So it's a good idea for me to link the stat blocks that I'm using here to make sure that make sure that it's easy for me to find what I need to find for anything. So if we just put the link in there, bada bing, bada boom, there we go. So it just pulls it up right there. And so, because I do always make sure to have at least my laptop, all of this. It's one of the beautiful things about OneNote. One of the reasons why I stick with OneNote for all of my note taking and world building is because I have OneNote on my laptop. So it's like a 30-second sync away from having everything that I've worked at here on my desktop if we go to someone else's house to play and I don't have this desktop with me. It's not a big deal, which is just beautiful. It's one of the really cool things about, you know, being alive right now. But anyway, brainwashed org. Let's see. We'll say one of the Eladrin's most trusted guards and org who has been programmed to protect him. Wowie. To protect him at all times. Boom. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess there isn't a whole lot else to put there for that. I mean, I could really get into the history of the org, and I might do that for the sake of building. Like, you'll see I have foes and friends here. A lot of times that's where I'll put, you know, you can see I've already got a lot of stuff that are already kind of put into this world. Some of the stuff that I even use, and I will a lot of times put monsters, and eventually I'll do that. But I'm not worrying about that right now, because that's kind of, I use that as more of a side project when I'm really not feeling like I've got it in me to work on like a specific thing that's kind of mapped out for the sake of play, and I've got time. So then I'll just work on world building type stuff. And so I may eventually flesh out this org a little bit more, in case players care. You know, I mean, that's, and the other reason too is exactly kind of, you know, I just kind of said it there. If players care, a lot of the history of this is for my sake. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy world building. I enjoy the process of coming up with a complex history for all of these places. And so it really is 100% for my sake, and I recognize that, and I'm comfortable with that. But because of that, I prioritize writing all that stuff out lower than just filling out what players need for their sessions, since I am building this to be a playable D&D world that I have characters actively playing in right now. But at any rate, yeah, so I might add some more detail there, but for here, this is really all I need. And so then the lackeys, other big bruisers who have been brainwashed by the Eladrin to serve as his protection when he is out in the wilds. Boom. That's all that there really needs to be. So at this point, allies, I think actually what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and underline Gregor Lofton. Let's see here. As I build my world, how long is my process? So, what exactly do you mean? Just like in terms of how long it takes for me to make things? Gregor Lofton. At this point, he is partially deprogrammed from. Deprogrammed from the brainwashing from start to finish. Okay, so it's kind of a tough one because I don't know that I have a clear thought process in terms of what would be a start to what would be a finish. You know, and I think you know, sort of figuring that out depends on what we're deciding the starting point. If we're talking about a full-blown mission, right? So like this whole Summer Eladrin mission that's going to end up having 10 dungeons. I mean, this might take me at least the rest of the month to finish. If we're doing that, if we're talking about just an individual dungeon, depending on how complex the dungeon is, I can knock out a dungeon in 1 to 2 days. And when I say 1 to 2 days, and when I say a month, I typically spend on any given week anywhere between 5 and 10 hours working on writing stuff like this, between the streams, between stuff I do on my own. So, I mean, over the course of a month, we're talking maybe 40 hours of writing and stuff like that, which includes all of the map building, stuff like that, to do like a whole mission and stuff like that, to do just one of these dungeons. Like I say, I can knock one of these dungeons out, especially if I have a Saturday where I'm doing nothing else. I can sit down and I can knock out a dungeon in an afternoon. Not much problem. And a lot of that is because I've taken the time to build these templates for myself, where it really is just a fill in the blank situation. And the other thing too is I do work faster when I'm not streaming, because when I'm streaming I like to try and take the time to discuss what I'm working on, why I'm doing it, talk about conversations with people, and I enjoy that process too. I think it's fun to sort of actually talk out the process. So it goes a bit slower when I'm streaming. So it really varies based on exactly what I'm working on. But I guess really what it comes down to is my philosophy is always, like, I do set goals for myself to try and say, like, hey, I'd like to try and get this dungeon done this week, or I'd like to get so many components of this mission done this week and stuff like that. But for the most part, I try to take a stance of, or a mentality of, it takes the time that it takes. I would rather go a bit slower and make something, how I want it, than rush through and be like, well, I'm not really satisfied with this dungeon, but I need something, so we'll call it good. So I very much take it takes as long as it takes. And I can get away with that now because, well, I can get away with that for two reasons. One, at this point in time, I've been working on this world long enough that I have a large enough backlog that even if I ran up against, like, if my players started down this and they ran up against where the ending point of this mission was, I've got enough stuff written elsewhere that I could probably fill in the blanks by just, like, pulling like a dungeon from somewhere else and using it in there and just reflavoring a few things. So I can get away with it that way. And the other way that I can get away with it is because, I mean, obviously I put a lot of thought and detail into the histories, into the atmospheres, into the characters, both villains and friendly, in these things, that my sessions do tend to be pretty roleplay heavy, and my players always seem to enjoy that, and they like that. This one dungeon, like, let's look at this dungeon, or even better, let's look at this dungeon that we finished last time, right? This dungeon that we were working on before. This session, from beginning to end, with just this mission thing alone, where they encounter the guy, go on a chase, have some combats and stuff, I do enough roleplay and I do enough detail in the combat by describing things, how things go, so that I can really paint a picture with words. I do enough of that with a session that this whole dungeon will take at least a whole session, if not possibly even multiple sessions, to get through everything involved in it, right? Like, just exploring the dungeon and chasing through might not take very long, especially this one, because this isn't one that lends itself to exploring every nook and cranny, right? So that one might only take one session. That said, this one that we're working on now, because this is going to be a completely empty, like a true blue dungeon, that's going to include lots of, prescribed battles. There's going to be lots of stuff, lots of corners to explore. There's going to be a town, like a ghost town, associated with the dungeon itself. I can see this one taking at least 2 sessions, right? And so if we're talking 2 sessions for a single dungeon of a game that I run 2 games and I play weekly, but each game that I run is every other week, so that I'm playing weekly, but each group is playing bi-weekly, and that works better for my players because they're less insane and dedicated than I am. So because of that, it's like basically it'll take us, if it takes 2 sessions to get through a single dungeon, it'll take us about a month for my players to get through something that I can knock out. Like this whole dungeon, I can knock this out in, a day or 2. So that's how I get away with taking my time writing all of this stuff, because I take my time. And the other reason that I can get away with that is because both of the groups that I'm part of they are long-term groups. These aren't flaky people who are just randos that I found at on meetups.com or something like that. Like these are groups of good friends who, if we weren't playing D&D, we would still be making the effort to do other things together. So it's like there's a consistent expectation that we'll all spend this time together. So we can really take our time with things, because we know that whatever we don't get through, well, we'll get through it in 2 weeks, and that's just kind of how it goes. So so thank you, Pike. I appreciate that. I do try to put a lot of thought into it, and like I say, I just it's for me, it's twofold on that front. I love world building. I love making designs. I love, like, when I'm just sitting here fantasizing this dungeon, right? I'm doing my best to make it clear and functional on paper, but in my head I've got vivid, not just pictures, like I've got like a full movie of what it would be like to walk through this ghost town, this dungeon, this abandoned mill. I've got very clear pictures in my head of what it is, right? And so I do my best to try and transpose that here, so that way I have enough to go on to recall that video that plays in my mind and present it to my players, right? And so, I love doing that. I love envisioning these especially this type of world that I'm building, where it's an abandoned, forgotten about world, where there's just all kinds of hidden history for players and for people to explore. And the other thing about it too is I love being able to give a fun escape from reality to my friends, because all of my friends, I've just where my life has taken me. I've found myself in a lot of situations, particularly with like grad school and stuff like that. I found myself making friends with a lot of very driven, very busy people. So they're people that work very hard every day, and they are very committed to their careers and everything, but they also tend to get very worn out by their careers. So it's fun for me to be able to provide a 4-hour escape from that to my friends. Give them, here's 4 hours where all you got to think about is you're now, Monstro McGruber, who is the fucking, the fucking guitar bard that sings and his enemies' heads explode, and they can just be that for a little while. So I try to paint as clear of a picture as I can for them to really get immersed in that. And, and the cool thing is my players really appreciate that. My players, my friends, they appreciate that, and it makes it really fun for everyone. So it's, I don't know, it's just I've been very lucky in my D&D experiences. I have found very good groups, very good players that have had some decent longevity. And I thank my lucky stars for that, because I know that that is not always a common thing for people to find with D&D. It is much more common to find very flaky players, very moody players, players that aren't good at working, together or with others and stuff like that. So I'm very lucky with that. So I just lean heavily into it, and that's why I take my time with this. It's like, man, I better make the most of it. So, and part of that is making a really, really detailed, painfully detailed environment. So that was a good 15-minute explanation to a simple question. You're welcome. Enjoy that. Imagine that for 4 hours, because that's kind of how these sessions, that I play and end up getting so long. I just take the time to describe every single detail. Let's see here. We were working on Gregor Lofton here. This point, he's partially deprogrammed from the brainwashing and will generally try to be helpful to players if they interact with him, though his brain is still a little mushy and not always as helpful as players will wish it was. There we go. So we'll consider Gregor an ally at that point in time. My intent with him is not to have him be like a supervillain for the rest of it. I love painting a lot of villains to be not just straight up cartoon, Snidely Whiplash, always evil. I love making villains have more nuance. So a villain like Gregor, who was a hired assassin to try and take out the queen of an entire city, right? Which is extremely disruptive, because that's like one of 13 existing cities in this whole world. He was brainwashed. So it's like, is he actually a villain? We'll leave that up to the players to decide. I feel like, and that's where it's always funny, because I feel like some players are all like, definitely on the same page with that kind of stuff, and then some players are, it's like some players are definitely like, oh yeah, the poor guy, and some players, once they enter this game, they're like, nope, fuck that guy, we're gonna slit his throat, and we're gonna not deal with this anymore. And it just cracks me up. It always cracks me up how ruthless players will end up getting. Okay, so that gives us our basic history, our basic environment setup. Like I say, that gives me a whole lot of memory triggers, so that way I can, as we're going through, I can read 1 or 2 sentences and then be able to conjure up what I need, and then move forward. So now we're going to get to a bit more details. So the first details to do here, again, as you can see here, I've got my dungeon-wide notes. These are just like notes for, how to run the dungeon in between the specific things set up in each room. And even then, too, beyond that, the sort of outlines and guidelines for how to fill each room. So for this one, skill checks, this is just a level 2 one, so we're going to have easy skill checks be a DC 10, mediums be an 11, and difficult ones be a 12. Now, for a specific challenge or specific puzzle, I might vary those, increase or decrease based on what, how well hidden something is, how mentally tough an enemy is. These aren't steadfast for every single skill check, but I do set these for if players are going to try something that I didn't explicitly foresee, right? So it's like if players are like, oh, well, I want to try and get on the roof of this building. It's like, oh, I didn't really plan on them getting to the roof, but it would be, that's a reasonable thing to do. So it's like, all right, getting onto the roof, that's not a particularly difficult thing to do, so we'll give them the easy check, and it's just, boom, it's there, it's decided, I know what it is, I don't have to arbitrarily come up with something. And it also gives me something to point at, so if players ever try to call foul, I can be like, hey, I got it pre-planned out. Like, this has been planned for months. This is what it is. I'm not making something up just to tell you no. Which, luckily, I don't really have any issues with in my groups. But, you never know. And I prepare it for any group I might have in the future. So for our enemies here, so the boss here is going to be the Orog. And that's a CR2 enemy. So one of the things that I do, and again, I've got, how I can go through things so quickly. I've got pre-planned out all of the challenge ratings and everything for all of my enemies. So if we're talking about a level 2 dungeon right here, which is all this stuff. Whoops, no, I don't want to bold that. I just want to go away from it. So our fodder enemies, which are just like the tiny enemies that I give to them for them to just like pick off, and it's really more about making them feel overwhelmed rather than actually overwhelming them. CR0, they're real easy. It's like we're talking like an army of squirrels they can just stomp on. No big deal. The soldiers, which are like a bit tougher but still not much of a problem. These numbers here, that's how many it would take. You know, that's how many it would take for an easy encounter. You know, so soldiers, it would take 5 soldiers to make an easy encounter. CR 1/8, leaders 1/4, and then the boss 1. So with the bosses, I don't actually make the bosses like a deadly challenge. I always make the bosses where the boss alone would be an easy challenge, and I do that so that way the boss can have cronies to make the combat a bit more complex without overwhelming my players. Because it's really easy to think of like, oh, I want everything to be, the boss needs to be the super deadly guy, but then you don't have room for little lackeys to run around, and a lot of times that adds, like it either means that it's going to be too difficult because you do add lackeys, but the boss itself is supposed to be deadly, and so players don't have a chance, or you don't do lackeys and it ends up being really easy because they all just surround the boss and just keep wailing on him until he's dead. So yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you're learning some stuff. Pika, it's kind of why I wanted to start, where I got the idea to start streaming this from, is just because I think it's really fun to share ideas, right? It's so much fun to share ideas with other DMs, because I've learned a lot from what other people talk about their processes are too, and I think that's good because that means better D&D for everyone, and who doesn't want that? Am I right? Let's see here. So I need to go to monsters here. We need to find some CR0. Challenge range rating 0 monsters to be our cronies. So, yes, definitely avoid the video game boss mentality. I do the same too. I love video games, and there are some video game things that you can bring into. What are you? Oh, it's like a little unicorn bunny. He's so cute. That would be a fun moral dilemma right there. Throw that into the thing for a moral dilemma. It's like, okay, these things are gonna try to kill you. Will you try to kill them, you horrible monsters? God, that's a good one. Knowing my players, they would all be like, yeah, fuck that thing, and they would just like stomp on it. I feel you, Space Crab Grab. Gosh, that's like, I really like saying your whole name, Giant Space Crab Grab. So much fun. But yeah, no, I feel you. I love reading articles. I love watching videos. I love watching streams of other people that that just share their process. I think it's just such a cool thing when people are willing to share their process. I think it's a really cool thing, and I think it gives us all better D&D. Let's see our environment. I'm gonna go ahead and do our environment filters. I don't know that it really matters because I'm trying to do. Oh wait, no, I didn't want hill. I wanted grassland. I'm trying to just do like humanoids, so I don't know that it's really necessary. Oh god, yeah, the Monty Python bunny. No, that's gonna be BBEG. That right there. That's gonna be, you know, level 20 end game. They have to fight the bunny. God, there's a movie I haven't seen in a while. I should pop that one in this weekend. That's a good one. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to find. I might just have to take like a generic. Like, yeah, I might just have to take like a generic one of these guys, like a kobold commoner, and just like flavor it to be like some weak ass lizard folk or something like that. Because aesthetically they're gonna be big bad guys, but they're all brainwashed, and like many of them weren't even actually soldiers in the first place, so it's not like they're gonna be particularly epic. So I'm thinking I might just go with like a generic commoner. Yeah, here we go. We can just do commoner. And it'll just be like flavored to be orcs and lizard folks and all of them rough and tumble types of races. Not because they're the only ones capable of trying to fight, but because the Eladrin is a bit of a douchebag, and so he naturally just gravitates towards the people that look super intense, right? So, commoner, CR0, commoner CR. Oh, you know what I usually do? I'll usually do the CR0, and then I'll also do the amount of XP. So that way, when I have to dole out XP for players, I have the note right there. So it's just quick math rather than me trying to remember what the fuck it was. Excuse me. 10 XP for zeros. That's right. That's right. XP 10. Boom. There we go. And we do an in-person games or online platform. So I like since COVID dropped its latest album. I like that reference. We are so one of my groups is actually pretty much, at least for the time being, permanently online, because it's a group of people that I met and played with during grad school, and most of us have kind of shotgunned out from the locale we were in ever since finishing grad school. So we're all over the country, so we pretty much have to be online for that group. The other group, like I was saying, we have been doing a mix of in-person and online based on if we'd been able to properly quarantine pre-meeting up in person. If we can't do that, we'll play online because we'd rather do online than completely skip and not hang out with each other. But now it's definitely looking like it's going to be much easier for us to meet in person. I know everyone in the group is at least halfway done with their vaccination process, if not completely done. So we are definitely pretty much there. And since you know, most of us are vaccinated, it's kind of safe for all of us to meet even the ones who aren't vaccinated, because we know they won't give it to those of us who are vaccinated, and we know they can't get it from those of us who are vaccinated. So we are definitely going to be trying to do pretty much all in person once we can, and we are very, very excited about it. It has been far too long since we've been able to just like casually like have friends and shit like that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's weird to think about that. Just like casually say hi to your friends and stuff. Platform of choice. I assume you mean for online gaming. Historically, we've used Roll20, but now that I have, you know, my newer PC these days that has a bit more computing power and can use some slightly more intense programs and stuff like that, we've made the switch, and we're using for online. We use Foundry Virtual Tabletop now. Which is fucking awesome. I love Foundry, because when you combine Foundry with all this, so like if we look at this map, you see all these doors and windows and stuff like that. This program will directly export to the format that that Foundry uses to make all of these doors and windows automatically interactable. So windows like field of view and stuff will automatically be modified based on whether a door is open or closed, and whether or not they can see from the angle of a window and stuff like that. So it makes it so much easier for me as a DM to not have to constantly be like changing the fog of war type of situation. It's, yeah, you guys have it right. It's fucking sick. That's goddamn right. It's so awesome, and I'm in love with it. And it took some working to figure out the kinks, because Foundry is still technically in beta form. So there are some kinks that have to be ironed out from time to time. But now that we've got the system working, oh god, is it nice! It is so nice. Fantasy Grounds. I've heard of that, but I've never used it. I've never used it myself, and at this point in time, I don't know if I ever will, because, goddamn, with Foundry, it's like, fuck, we got it, and it's great. Owlbear Rodeo. I don't even know if I've heard of that one. I just like the title. Owlbear Rodeo. That sounds horrifying and exciting all at once. Let's see here. I do need to make a note here. Commoner, flavored as orcs. Oops, as porks? As orcs. Lizard, folk, etc. Pretty clear. And so what I'm thinking for soldiers is we're going to kind of do the same thing, right? I'm immediately seeing the bandits. I think that's going to be the way to do it. Well, there's actually one thing I forgot to do with the commoner. I'll have to do that. For the bandit here, we're going to do it. So soldiers, bandit, CR 1/8 XP. What are 1/8? Aren't those like 50 XP? Or no, it's 25 XP. I think 50 is like when you get up to quarter. Is that right? 25 XP. Yep. Knew it. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, Space Crab. Yeah, not a lot of bells and whistles, but easy to use. I mean, that's a fair compromise, honestly. Like, it's kind of like, you know, when buying a car, when you get one that has like more and more of the fancy gadgets, that's more and more stuff that can break, and stuff. So I totally understand that logic. I think that's totally fair. Let's see. We're just gonna copy and paste this. And put that there, because it's quicker than typing it all out. And then I want to... Oops. Ah, shit. I gotta recopy the... Because I'm a dumbass. I, like, literally just copied it. And I was like, oh, we'll paste this one. Damn it. Copy that. And now I paste it. There we go. And then now I... Whoops. Well, there we go. See, it works. Alright, I do need to go back and find the commoner one. Let's see here. Oh, nice. Yeah, using Hero Forge for matching minis and stuff like that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, for the online, using Foundry, one thing that's cool about Foundry too is people can install, they can make and install widgets, you know, and people will share their widgets that they made. And one of the widgets that I've installed is one that directly communicates with my D&D Beyond account. Which I have, like a membership there that I share with all of my players, right? So we can have our campaign on D&D Beyond, and I can have access to all their character sheets. So what that means is on Foundry, it will extract the information for their character sheets onto Foundry, so they can right there in the tabletop pull up their character, and I can embed their characters in the game, so that way whatever image they've chosen for their character on their character sheet, they can move it in, and that's their token, so they can have their personal one there. And my players are huge fans of that. So it's pretty freaking sweet. It is really cool. I'm in awe of what people have kind of come up with for that system, you know, and using that program. It is such a cool program. I am such a huge fan of it. Okay, let's see. What challenge level did the leaders need to be again? I'm blanking. 1/4. Okay. So we'll go back here, and then we're gonna go in here. Find 1/4. Give me the quarters. Filter them monsters. Have all these bandits and then just have a series of cows. I think it's funny that a cow is more dangerous than a bandit. I mean, just think about that. It's a cow. It's not even a bull. It's just a cow. It's like a milk cow. Just a cow. It's more dangerous than a guy with a sword. I mean, whatever. Got some dangerous, deadly ass fucking cows going on here in the world of 5e. Let's see here. Spider bait. Oh, it's a character, of course. But they have chaos. Turtles, wolves. Yuck. I mean, I guess I could just do... I guess again, I'm trying to go for humanoids. There's not a whole lot of humanoids that fit this bill. We could just say goblin, but then just, like, again, flavored as other things. And do it that way. Yeah, we'll just do that. We'll just say goblins. We'll say goblin. Well, you know what? We'll keep them as goblins. We'll say it's goblins. We'll flavor them as, like, goblins and kobolds, right? And we'll just do them that way, just, like, skinned that way. But they all carry this stat block. So let's copy that. Alright, so we're going to say goblin. CR 1/4. So that should be, the XP should be 50 then for those, right? Yeah. Yup. XP 50. Boom. Flavored as... let's see, we're going to say flavored as goblins and kobolds. Yeah. There we go. And then paste our link right there. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, and then I gotta just pull up the Orog thing to finish filling that stuff out. Actually, we'll just search for Orog. Oh, I gotta ditch out on that bullshit. Filter the monsters. There's the Orog. Copy that. Let's see here. It is. What am I looking for? There it is. Challenge 2, experience 450. CR2 XP 450. Bada bing, bada boom. Do I have the book, The Monsters Know What They Are Doing? I do not. I've heard good things about that one, but I actually don't have it personally. That's the one. Actually, that was not flavored as anything. It's flavored as an Orog. There we go. That's the one that talks about having monsters be more intelligent than just like run in and hit until they die, right? Like that's kind of the crew of that one, if I'm remembering it properly, isn't it? Let's see here. Let's see here. So wandering monsters. Let's see here. So I just want to come up with 2. So one of the things I like to do, so for a long rest, if players decide to take a long rest, I don't think it's going to be relevant in this one, but I'm going to let them if they want to. You know what? No, we're not going to do that. There's going to be no long rest. If they try to take a long rest, then the guy will get away. We're going to flavor it that way, because again, this is another chase. So I just don't think that that's really going to be relevant. So we're just going to get rid of that. We're just going to get rid of it, right? We're going to throw an audible. We're going to call an audible, and we're going to get rid of it. Because I don't want that shit. I don't need it. Who needs it? Who needs it? Yeah, Pike. I feel ya. Yeah, I don't have that book personally, but it's definitely, the concept is something that I think about a lot. I try to give all of my enemies a mind of some sort. Like I try to just sort of think about what they, what kind of monster they are, what that means their motivations would be, what they're doing. So it's like some monsters would just keep fighting until they attack or until they die, based on like what the monster is, if it enters like a bloodlust type of situation. So some of them might do that. But even monsters, for the most part, like even a creature, I wouldn't typically do that very often, because most creatures, it's like if you lop their leg off, they're probably going to run away. And so I utilize that a lot, because I think it just adds to that immersion, and I think players prefer that to just like, all right, we're all just going to, stand and like rock'em sock'em robots until someone falls, right? Like that gets kind of, it gets kind of monotone, I think, for a lot of players if you do that too much. So let's see here. So there we go. Okay, so that gives us our background and everything for this dungeon. So what I think I'd like to do, I don't have a whole lot of time left. I got about 15 minutes left. I'm gonna have us just put together the framework of this dungeon, so that way the next time we do a writing stream, we can just dive into filling out the rooms and hopefully finish this dungeon in one session. That's kind of what I'd like the goal to be. I think that's what I'd like to do. So let's go ahead and pull up our thing here. We're going to do a new map. Let's see, 34 by 22, that's my standard size. I always say 34 by 22 is my standard size for everything, because that's the size of the in-person game combat map that I have. I've got a poster that's 36 by 24 inches. So I do, assuming we include a bit of a border, that means we've got a 34 by 22 inch thing, and each square is an inch, and that's the battle that I use, or that's the battle map that I use. So every dungeon that I make fits that tile size, and that's just the best way to do it. And I find that gives us plenty of room to make a dungeon that's not so complex players don't really know what to do with it or get lost, but it still adds enough room to work on stuff. It's a good restraint. And if we need the dungeon to be bigger, we just do a second set of floors, or a second set of rooms that are somehow thematically or obviously separated from each other. So let's see here. So I'm going to do, so we've got this here, and so one of the things that I love about this is it has the dungeon, the map wizard, so I can try and sort of get ourselves a basic framework here. So complexity, I actually want the complexity down for this. It's just we're just making the mill. And I'm going to try upping the density. I want to see what that does, just to give us like multiple rooms. So let's generate here. Alright, so we've got something like that. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm feeling that a bit better. Maybe. Maybe. Because I'm thinking what we can do is we can flavor it and we can draw the map so we've got like water going underneath here, right? That's the river. So there's a few parts of the building that oversee. Because remember, this is a riverside mill, right? And I'm liking this little element right here. I might change the size of this room a little bit, but that's where the wheel will connect to, right? For that part of the mill. And then I'm thinking for all of this stuff, if we get rid of these hallways and just fill in these gaps with other rooms that would have historically had various purposes, and we just have a lot of the rooms just kind of butting up against each other rather than having long hallways, I think that would work pretty well. I like this framework. Oh shoot, I should have changed up the floor before we did that though. Because the floor is going to be wood in this one, I think. What's the wall? They got concrete? No, it's not going to be concrete. We'll do wood all around, but we can. I think we can modify that. So, I don't think it's going to let me. Yeah, no, it's just going to automatically do it. Rats. Okay, that's okay. I can change it manually. So let's go ahead and finish here. So now we want to go to design. Building tool. We want floor. And we want wooden walls. So I think we can just go, boom. Yeah, we can just do that. It's going to be, although actually, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I want to do that because that's going to mess up our door placement. So instead, what I'm going to do is we'll erase just one room at a time. We'll erase that one and then put in our new one. And we'll just do that one segment of room at a time. So we can do that. That, and then we'll do, that's going to be that chunk up to there. Let's do that room to there, there to there, and we go back. Do need to get rid of that little segment there. Do that. Get rid of that. Yeah, I can't just put it over because since this thing will try to automatically make doors and stuff interactable. If we have two walls, like two layered walls, and I put a door there, the door will only land on one of those walls. So even though they'll open and close the door, it wouldn't like the automatic lighting effects wouldn't work because it would still be interacting with the wall that goes under there. So I'm going to be modifying these and probably getting rid of some of these things. Altogether, but I'm going to start off by making it one-to-one exact, just so that way I've got my proper framework and can think about it clearly here. So we'll do, so we'll do that and that, there to there, get rid of that, go from there to there, and there to there, just like that. Okay, that's what we have. There's our framework now. Okay, so I need this to, ultimately I need this to have 10 rooms. Ultimately we want it to have 10 rooms. How do I want to arrange those rooms? We've got, so I'm looking at it here. I think we've got 1, I think we can cut that and do 2, right? So 1, 2, 3. You can probably cut this to have 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8. I'm thinking we can tuck 1 maybe right here, like a broom closet. So that'll make 9. And then we can add another room right here to make 10. So I actually think it's not going to take that much work to make this fit my 10-room framework. So I always do a 10-room framework. Whoops, I need to undo that. I always do a 10-room framework because that, like the way, and I can get into a bit more detail. Actually, you know, I'll just pull it up right now and just show it. So I do 10 rooms. 1 room is sort of the guarded entrance, and that's just sort of like the definitive entry to the dungeon. And room is a loose term. It doesn't always have to be rooms. It can't just be areas. So if it's like a cave, there's 10 notable areas, 10 important things, right? So one of them is like a guarded entrance. Maybe it's a locked door. Maybe it's there is a literal guard standing there. Maybe it's trapped. Something like that. I do 5 rooms that have combat: an easy, a medium, a hard, and a deadly combat encounter, just to give them plenty of stuff to have to interact with, and then also the boss battle. So 5 rooms of combat. 1 room that has some sort of puzzle. It can be a riddle, it can be a literal puzzle, it can just be there's something hidden that they have to figure it out, some sort of puzzle, some sort of challenge that way. 1 room that I call the twist room, and that's where I just kind of throw something that puts a bit of a monkey wrench in things. Maybe they find a prisoner that they weren't expecting to find. Maybe, you know, there's it was a room that they were trying to go through, but like for some reason it's impassable, so they have to find another way around. Things like that. Room 9, I always have 1 room that has the reward. I separate that from where the monsters are, just so that way it's like with this, like, you know, like with this dungeon where the treasure is going to be disjoint from the mission that's happening. It just so happens that the treasure exists in the same location. That way there's a separate room for it, and I don't have to find some sort of reason why it's like conveniently right where the boss was, even though the boss didn't drop the treasure. And then I also do 1 room that I call the safe room. And that's a room where if players want to, they can barricade themselves up and reliably have a long rest if they need it. So that way, if they're just getting completely manhandled, there's like a safe room that has some supplies in there that they can use to barricade the door. I'll rarely actually put supplies in there for them to restock or heal up necessarily, but it's an option for them to do that. The risk they run into is usually there are risks of stuff that will happen. Some enemies will regenerate. There might be wandering monsters that start banging on the door and wait for them in ambush when they try to go out. You know, things like that can still happen. Or like if they're doing a chase, the guy might get away. But that way it gives them that option if that's what they want. But let's see here. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to put a room right there, right? So a little broom closet room. So I know we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I want to put like a room right here. Can do that, and just we'll make things kind of interesting. Maybe there are some like gaps in the room. It's really not the worst thing in the world for there to be like hallways and stuff that are just kind of disjoint. Now, I suppose I don't need to be too afraid of that. That's kind of, it's a little game mechanic-y to do it that way, which is usually what I try to avoid, but I mean, I guess there are worse things. I don't know. Let's try putting just some separating, some dividing walls, and see how that impacts things. So we can put that right there and there. So that's one of our rooms that we were separating. We're gonna separate that off, so that's just like a hallway. Our room goes right there. This is a room. Whoops. Go. That was going to be a separation right there to make a room. How else are we going to subdivide? We're going to go there to there. There to there. I mean, this is kind of its own separate thing already here. We can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's our 10 rooms. I actually kind of like the way that looks. Honestly. I don't know that I have a problem with that. I guess. I don't know. It just, I guess from a construction standpoint, it just wouldn't make sense for all these hallways to be here. So I'm going to get rid of the hallways. Whoops. No, I don't want to be making that wall. We need to go to our building tool here. That's what we need. Let's get rid of that hallway there. I'm going to get rid of these because I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this room and slide it up there. In fact, we can just make that real easy. Do that. And then need to go back to our wall tool. How am I supposed to delete a wall? Why do they not have a wall delete option? Well, I guess it doesn't matter because I'm just going to... Here's how we'll do it. We'll do that one right there. Boom. There we go. Separate rooms makes them kind of interesting. They're unique things. It doesn't feel quite as monotone in terms of flavor. I like that. I like that. That's good enough. Let's go ahead and get rid of this hallway. I just don't. Yeah, I just don't like the hallways. I don't. Don't ask me why. It just doesn't sit right with me. I just don't feel it, man. I'm not feeling it. So let's actually, you know what we'll do? Get rid of that, and then build that up there, and then get our wall tool again. Do that. There we go. Okay, so we kind of got like 2 sections to the room or something like that. That'll work. That works. I like that. And then let's just go ahead and throw some scene setting. Yeah, I'm definitely bumping up on the end of my time here, but let's go ahead and get some water here. Right, so we've got the river going along. Is it going to change our... Shit, I did not want it to change the wood. Undo that. I need this... There's got to be a way to layer this down. How do I... Why isn't it letting me see my layers? Usually it would let me see the layers. You know what? I think there's another way to do this. Go to our terrain brush. Unfortunately, they just don't have a water. Never mind. Barren. Dang it! How did I change that? I know I've done it before. Could just kind of like try and carefully paint around that stuff, right? Yeah, I'm with you, Pika. The hallways, they wouldn't make sense for them to be there. Like, hallways are often used in dungeons for the sake of, you know, adding that sort of sense of foreboding. But as a baseline, yeah, really wouldn't make much sense. You see, I don't like doing it that way because it looks like the shore just goes up there. I want the river to go underneath it. Undo. Where's my layers tool? I know there's like a, here we go, level settings. That's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna add another one. Label, we'll call that outdoors. And we'll just put that below the ground level. So we'll do the, oh shoot, that's right, but it doesn't actually like layer them. I hate that. Shoot. Yeah, never mind. There's gotta be a way. I know there's a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it. Okay. Oh, I wonder if I can just do... Let's just try this. Let's just see what kind of effect this has. Right, and we'll do that. There. Let's just see what that ends up looking like. That is so uniform. I hate that. I hate how that looks. I hate that. I'm not doing that. I will not do it. I will not. I refuse. So I wonder if I can just do it. No, yeah, that's going to just do our levels there. How do I make it there? I know there's a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it, right? What's that? Is that water? That's ice. Hold on, what does the ice look like? Yeah, see, it'll do that one below. Looks kind of like water. I don't know. Undo that. I wonder if I can change how it looks. See, it's got the layer for that one. I don't understand why it won't let me do it here. Okay, hold on. I'm going to experiment with something. Oh, now we froze up. Oh, good. Oh, good. We froze. There we go. Okay. So if we do that, but then what if I do construct? What if I were to just do it? Nope, it's not going to do that. It ain't going to do it. I don't understand. There's got to be a way to do it, man. There's got to be a way. See, this is the type of shit that keeps me up at night. I got to figure this out. I got to figure it out. I got to find a way to do it. You know I got to do it. You know I got to do it. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, in theory, you wouldn't really conventionally have water going underneath a building. Like, I get it, but also don't tell me what I can and can't do. Let me just try making it, whoops, this way again. Oh, shit. Undo. Try a smaller brush, see if that makes it a bit easier. Just try being so careful. Because I think maybe what I can do is change, you see over there on the left hand side, it's got an option for changing the blend level. And maybe if I make that like 0, then it will not really have the shallows going quite the same, right? That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Maybe we can just hotwire it that way. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Carefully, carefully. Fill that area in. Carefully, carefully, carefully. So carefully. We do that. And now we wait for it. Yeah, so if we do that, and then maybe if we do blend distance. I guess that kind of takes care of it. I mean, it looks acceptable. Like it'll serve. It'll serve. And maybe I need to just like accept that. Let's see here. Let's take your idea for like the little dots and do it like that to just like make it look like it goes directly under there rather than like curving away like it does right now. Yeah, because if we like do it that way, it looks like it does kind of go underneath there. I don't like that ripple against there, but maybe even that's not such a bad deal, because it's like there would obviously be stilts and stands to hold the stuff over it, right? So maybe that ought to be, maybe I ought to just stop being such a little whiny baby about it and just accept it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to select prairie and terrain grass and see if I can modify the grass a bit here. Can I just change how it looks? God damn it, there's got to be a way. No, I don't want the path tool. I want sand. I just want it to be like golden grass, you know? I don't want it to be green. Why is this too much to ask for? Yeah, there's no... Okay, well, I mean, if we just set it up like that, I guess that looks pretty close to what I'm after anyway, so I guess we'll just leave that. Could do a little bit of dirt terrain. Well, let's get the brush size down. Might do a little bit of dirt terrain there. What are we not gonna... There it goes, okay. Just to make the river shore. That might help actually make it look a bit more... Right, like a bit more natural. Perfect, yeah, if we do that, that helps blend it a little bit too. That's adding kind of the effect that I'm looking for here. Hold on, let's up that intensity a little bit and get our brush size just a bit. Oops, oh, that's much bigger than what I was actually hoping for, but if we do the intensity, that kind of like brings it along a bit quicker. Let's have the mud just kind of going up here. Watch, and if we do like the mud like that, that kind of sends the effect, right? There we go. That's kind of a good way to hotwire it. You know, if you just do little bits there, that invokes the idea that the river is kind of going along still, right? It's close enough. It's good enough, right? I'd say that's pretty okay. There. Okay, I'm okay with that. Although I'm gonna like lower the intensity a little bit, and I want to just like see if I can't soften this a little bit here. Let's see here. If we just kind of do that to soften things a little bit, add a little bit more irregularity to it, that'll make it look just a little bit better. I don't like this. I want that to be more like that. That looks okay. I actually, you know, I kind of want to... Oh, no. I guess we'll leave that there. We'll do that. Looks okay. Let's just get that area right there. Okay. Alright, alright. Although, it wouldn't make sense for grass to just randomly grow like right up against the building, so we'll just do it that way. Yeah, it looks okay. I think we'll grab that like that and just make it a bit bigger. That needs to be a bit more. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna leave well enough alone, I think. No, I'm not. Clearly I'm not, because here I'm still doing stuff to it. There we go. Okay, alright, now it's time for me to leave well enough alone. Nope. Shit. It needs to be perfect. There we go. Okay, I think that looks acceptable. I'm gonna leave it as is. Gonna leave it as is there. So we've got that. I do need to go ahead and do our object tools. Let's go ahead and do some trees on the outside here. I think we can go down. We'll do some like palm trees. Let's see here. We can put like a tree like right there. Rotate it a little bit. Put a tree right there. Let's grab a different one just to mix it up a little bit. Maybe there's a tree right there. And like a nice tree right there. Maybe one more just off in the corner there. Okay, so that adds a little bit of feeling there. Let's see. Oh, I do want to go back here to the path tool. Blood trail? Yikes. I was thinking like an actual path here. This thing is ready to go go full kilt here. I think actually, you know what, actually is going to be a smarter idea. Let's do our terrain, our dirt terrain. Keep the intensity up our brush size, not that much. And then if I want the path to be like here, because that's where the front door is that leads off. Right, there's our pathway. Boom. Pathway that leads away from it. I don't know, maybe there's two front... No, we're just going to make one front door. We're going to go ahead and funnel my players so they can deal with it. So if we put that right there, that looks okay. Now I'm just going to chuck in some doors and windows, and then I really got to call it a session. I got other stuff I got to do today. I got shit to do. Stupid life getting in the way of me just having fun all the time. It's ridiculous. I hate it. Door. Wait, hold on. Is there a separate door tool? Is that what I'm forgetting? Yes, I'm forgetting that there's a separate portal tool. Alright, so doors. I just want generic wooden doors here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so I can better see. Thinking maybe that's where our front door is, right there. And then I don't know exactly what all of these different rooms are going to be and all that kind of stuff. So all we're just going to do here is I'm just going to put in, we'll put in a door right there. We're just going to put doors. Just going to place some doors. No big deal. Door. Connect all of these rooms together. You know, because it's whatever. Doors. Put a door right there. Door there. Door there. Door there. There. I just try to always, like, I'll always start it with connecting all the rooms because I can always get rid of some of these doors later if I don't want them. But that way it's like, okay, everything that needs a door has a door. We got our doors. All these doors. And now let's go ahead and just throw in some windows. They would have some windows. That's a door. That's a door. Just some basic ass fucking windows. We don't need them to be particularly intense. You just do these ones. Especially because this is just like more of a business than anything. So a couple windows there on our main entryway. Some windows, you know, like a window there, there. There. One there and one there. Do there and there. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, and the other thing about this dungeon too is the nature of it being like an old decrepit building. I'm going to have it, let's see, that's going to be like where the thing comes out of. I'm going to put two windows there. We'll put windows right there. So it is going to be kind of like a dilapidated, falling apart building. So there's a good chance that I will like find other ways. Like I will add piles of wall and barricades and get rid of some of these and have crumbled like walls. A lot of times what I like to do is like that's the main entrance and that's the obvious one to go through, but if players want to, there will be many ways in through here, like including those windows and stuff like that. So I will probably be adding some more stuff like that later, but for now the important part is we have a good framework. We have a framework to work on for next time, and I dig it. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. We're going to save this as the... What was the name of the fucking city? What the fuck was I calling this thing? Bebupada. The Bebupada Mill. That's right. That is correct. So the Bebupada Mill. Right. Yeah. Okay, good. I did spell it right. Boom! There we go. Okay, so save that shit so I don't lose all my work. And there we go. I think that's good. That's actually some really good progress. We've got the baseline background information for this dungeon all planned out. And we got a framework to start filling in the rest of it. I'm already looking at it. I already think there are way too many windows here, but that's okay. We'll fix that next time. But yeah, I like it. I think we did some good stuff today. So, yeah, cool. Well, happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm actually feeling a bit more accomplished, and I'm feeling better about today than I did when I started. I started off feeling pretty low motivation, was having a hard time imagining what I wanted to write about and if I wanted to go through the trouble of doing it all, but I made myself do it. Whenever I have low motivation, I always make myself do it. Especially when it comes to like writer's block and stuff like that. It's like work begets creativity, not the other way around, right? Like if you're feeling writer's block, the best way is to just start writing down something shitty, and then you'll come up with ways to make it better as you go. You know, and it's like I know that, I consciously know that, so I always try to make myself work. I think a lot of times people will be too quick to succumb to like, oh, I'm just not feeling it today, we'll try again tomorrow. And sometimes that's necessary, but I think most of the time it's actually better to make yourself get up and do stuff. Because then at the very least, even if you aren't very successful, you can make it to the end of the day and say, well, at least I didn't waste it doing nothing. So at any rate, yeah, it was a good time today, good Friday, good, well, it's not Good Friday. That's a specific thing, but you know, it's a grand Friday. Good day, and heading into the weekend. Hell yeah. Tomorrow, I'm thinking I will probably do some sort of stream. I have no idea if I'm gonna game, if I'm going to write. I don't know when it's going to happen. All I know is I have a Saturday that's pretty clear because my group that would normally play D&D on Saturday, we had to bump it to Sunday. Which means my Saturday's open, and so I think it might be kind of fun to just kind of do an extra Saturday stream. I think that'd be fun stuff to do that with. So, you know, if you got some time tomorrow, I mean, it would certainly be in the afternoon. And the reason I can guarantee it'd be in the afternoon is because, god damn it, there's a pretty good fight card. There's a pretty good fight card set up for Saturday night. So you know I'll be sitting there watching that, and that's good stuff there. So it'll be sometime in the afternoon. So I don't know, like fuck it. If you want to stop by, if not, it wouldn't change what I would do. I'd just be gaming or writing anyway. So I'll just stream it. But that's coming up tomorrow, maybe. Next week. As far as I know right now, I don't have anything that will stop me from streaming, though so next week I am, for my job, there's a virtual conference that I will be attending, so when I can stream and for how long might be a little abnormal based on when different lectures and presentations are happening for that conference. So we'll see. I will be doing my best to stick to my usual, for me it's midday, my usual midday, try to do 2 hours of streaming. I will be trying to stick to that framework, but no promises. As always, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll be doing the writing. Tuesday, Thursday is when I will be gaming. So I got that coming up next week. I think that's it. I mean, you know, that kind of covers all the news. Like I've mentioned, I know some people have been wondering about if I would be interested in expanding and doing some different things with the stream and stuff like that. And you know, as of right now, it's waiting to find out if I will be able to continue this, because I started doing this on my lunch hours when we started working from home. And now that things are getting back to normal, it's a question mark whether or not I will have to go back to the office or continue to work from home. Looking more and more like I'll be able to work from home, but I should have more official news on that next week, and so I'm holding off getting too much stuff going until I know for sure the result of that. So stay tuned in terms of that stuff. We're talking things like a Discord channel. I'd like to get that going. You know, changing my streaming setup a little bit, all that kind of stuff. We'll see. All in the works, hopefully. But yeah, other than that, I guess it's just you know, the usual thank yous to everyone who stopped by. I have a lot of fun with these, and I'm glad that there's people who enjoy stopping by for these writing streams, especially, so we can just, you know, compare notes on DMing, you know, and D&D in general. It's fun stuff. I always have a good time with it. You know, so thanks to all the people who stop by while we're doing it. Thanks to everyone who watches the VODs as well. I know it's not always easy for people to stop by in person, but honestly, I'm just glad you enjoy it, whether it's in person or afterwards. So, yeah, you know, the VODs are on Twitch for 2 weeks, and then after that, you can find them on my YouTube channel. I do put them up there just for the sake of posterity if anyone's interested in going back and looking at some of the other stuff I've done historically. So, those options are there. Otherwise, that's all I got. That's all I got. The last thing that I always do is I just like to ask anyone sitting here still with me, still watching, you know, as you're heading out and, you know, still going about your day, please do your best to try and make it a good day for someone else. The world's a pretty rough place sometimes, especially right now. There's a lot of fighting about what we should and shouldn't be doing, about quarantines and all that kind of stuff, especially now that we're making some changes to reduce in some parts of the world. So let's not encourage all of that fighting, and instead let's just try and be nice to each other. Let's try and remember we're all still people, all trying to get through this human experience, and I think a lot of the human experience and how well it goes is up to us. So let's just choose to make it a good experience, you know. That's my 2 cents anyway. So I just ask that everyone else, you know, try and put a smile on someone else's face and call it a day, because I know that being here makes my day better, and I'm going to do my best to go out and use that energy to make someone else's day better. So if we all do that, maybe we can make the world a little better. But I don't know, enough preaching. That's all I got for you today. You know, thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate everyone stopping by, and I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Take care, everybody.